What's up, everybody? I have a very special video for you guys today. Today we're going to be taking a look at the OnePlus 6T, and we're going to be rounding up all of the leaks, renders, and information that's been released across the internet in the past couple of weeks. Also, I'm going to be giving my expectations and opinions on the upcoming OnePlus 6T event, and just a bit of prediction for the future of the company OnePlus. Before we get started though, if you haven't checked out my last video where I dove into the Google Pixel 3 and talked about it from a value perspective, please be sure to check out that video. The link will be in the description below. You will not want to miss it. Without any further ado, let's dive into the OnePlus 6T. First off, there's been leaks coming out all over the internet and on Twitter about this phone, the OnePlus 6T. And as we steadily approach that upcoming date, October 29th, for that launch event, the leaks just keep on coming. But by now, we figuratively have all the information that we need about this device, from high quality photos down to renders and promotional photos. Firstly, let's talk about these renders. These renders were released about 3 weeks ago from OnLeaks and Android Police, and they basically show the phone in its entirety. I have a render video and some images that I'll show on the screen right now. And as you can see, the device has a very similar look to the predecessor, the OnePlus 6. There are a few differences though. One of the biggest ones among all of the differences is the lack of a headphone jack on the bottom. Now, this specific change has caused a lot of controversy, not just in the Android community, but especially the OnePlus community. I guess it goes off of the basis that OnePlus, their company motto is never settle. That's one of their mottos. And as they've released their phones in the past, the OnePlus 1, the OnePlus 2, 3, all the way to this current phone, they've always had a headphone jack, which is one of the most essential features of a cell phone that us as consumers have liked and enjoyed for years and years. And for them to just get rid of that on their latest flagship, it kind of goes against their own motto, and it definitely goes against a lot of their loyal customers, and I would like to see how that turns out. My personal take though on the headphone jack, at first when I heard about the news, I was pretty shocked. I was wondering why they would do that, but it wasn't as surprising as I thought it would be, just going off of the direction that other companies have taken, like Apple and Google, the Google Pixel 3, the newest flagship from them. All of these phones don't have headphone jacks, and I think that's where the future is headed. Me personally, I have no problem with it, because thinking about it, I've never really used a headphone jack that often. I've always either used wireless headphones or just used the speaker. So me personally, I'm not as affected as most people are, but I feel like that a headphone jack is still a specific feature that a lot of us as consumers love, so it'll really be hard to get rid of for a lot of Android users. In addition to this, they have seemed to change where the headphone jack would have been with another speaker grill. And with this, I really hope that the speaker quality is improved on this model, because the OnePlus 6's speaker is quite poor in comparison to other phones, not just in the Android space, but in this price range. For a $500, $600 flagship, the speaker is just terrible in comparison. There's also a lack of a fingerprint sensor on the back in lieu of an in-screen fingerprint sensor, which I will talk about later in the video in depth. One of the last changes made to the design is the notch. This notch is a single teardrop shape with a front-facing camera only, and it has a smaller fingerprint than the 6's, which I'm sure will please many consumers out there that were complaining about the notch, or just maybe people that aren't as used to notches. They may enjoy this one, or they may find this one suitable for them. I surely hope that these design touches really help OnePlus as a company get that exposure that they deserve. It would be really nice to see, honestly. The next leaks come from a Twitter user. His name is Ishan. Probably pronouncing that wrong. I really hope not. I'm gonna have it on the screen so you guys can see it. He gave us the entire spec sheet and some promotional photos from the OnePlus 6T. So us as a tech community really appreciate his efforts. Big shout out to him on that part. So we're gonna take a look at those. Looking at the spec sheet though, I'll have it on the screen as I speak. There's a slightly bigger display, 6.4 inches versus 6.3 on the OnePlus 6. A slight increase in pixels. We have a 2340 by 1080 display instead of a 2280 by 1080 on the OnePlus 6. I assume that increase is coming from the notch. There may be some slight decreases in size on the side bezels and on the bottom, but I highly doubt it for the most part. Most of that change is coming from the notch since it's getting a bit thinner. One of the more interesting upgrades of this phone is the glass. We're actually looking at Corning Gorilla Glass 6 that's going to be on this OnePlus 6T. And that's an upgrade from Corning Gorilla Glass 5, which is on phones like the OnePlus 6 and the Google Pixel 3. And this really had me thinking, because I just did a video on the Google Pixel 3 talking about its features and everything. It has Corning Gorilla Glass 5, as I just mentioned. But if this phone is coming out 2 or 3 weeks later with Corning Gorilla Glass 6 and it's going to be $250 cheaper, that just rings a red flag for me, because you're looking at the fact that Google couldn't manage to put Corning Gorilla Glass 6 on their $750, $850 flagship is pretty questionable. So I found that pretty interesting as well. For the first time, we may be looking at a 128 gig base model. That would be amazing. Coming from me personally, I think 64 gigabytes is fine just for any common user. But as someone who records a lot of videos, especially for doing YouTube, it's good to have that leg room. So I try to get 128 gigs on any device that I purchase. But to have a 128 gigabyte base model with an addition of a 256 gigabyte upgradable version, that is just awesome. If OnePlus can pull that off and keep that same price range, which I expect from this phone, which I'll get to later, that would be amazing. That would be incredible from the company. Looking back at the spec sheet though, it looks like we have very similar camera specs and capabilities. We have slight weight and dimension differences. I think literally the weight difference was about 3 grams estimated, so not much at all. We have the same internal CPU and GPU, but one of the biggest changes that I've seen looking at the spec sheet was the battery. I'll give you guys a bit of a background about the battery and why this change is so significant. So looking at the OnePlus 5T, we have a Snapdragon 835 and an Adreno 620. And those are fine specs internally. Those are great specs. And we had a 3300 milliamp hour battery, which was capable of taking that phone through an entire days of use without having to charge. With the OnePlus 6 though, the phone I'm using right now, they upgraded the internals and they gave it a Snapdragon 845 and Adreno 630, which both obviously use a bit more power because they're more powerful chips. However, the company decided to still keep that same 3300 milliamp hour battery, and that caused the battery life to decrease. One of the complaints that I made when I first got the OnePlus 6 was the battery life was slightly decreased. It was just a little bit. It wasn't as significant as you may think. The OnePlus 5T, you could take it from off the charger from possibly 7 o'clock in the morning, and you could go the entire day without having to charge. But the OnePlus 6, however, it would make it to probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you'd have to plug that thing up. So for them to add this extra 400 milliamp hour battery to make it a 3700 milliamp hour battery, that will definitely make up for all the internal upgrades. And it's good to see a company like OnePlus not skimping on the internals and actually giving us what we deserve as consumers, giving us a valued upgrade. That is really nice to see from OnePlus. Everything else on the spec sheet looks to be the same. There's not many upgrades, but the ones that are made definitely will count. And I cannot wait to see the performance when this phone launches. Lastly, for the leaks, I'm going to show you guys a couple of promotional photos. These photos are also from the same Twitter user, Ishan. Once again, big shouts out to him for all this information. There's about 5 photos I'm going to show you on the screen. One of them has the phone being used. A woman is holding it while she's exercising, so that you guys can use the phone while you're exercising. It's a very lightweight device, so you can use it while you're exercising. Also, there's another picture showing the phone in use during a regular phone call, so you guys can see the back of that device almost in its entirety. And it looks really, really nice from the image. And one of the last images that I'm going to show you guys, one that I enjoyed personally, was the picture of the phone being used in what seems like to be a video call. You can really see that screen real estate. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the OnePlus 6T renders and it had that teardrop notch, I thought the notch was ugly. I'll just be completely honest. I thought it didn't look nice at all. And it was one of the main reasons why at first I wasn't going to get the device. But as that date comes slowly, that October 29th date, we're almost there, about 2 days away as of the filming of this video. The phone kind of has that supreme hype effect to it, where the closer and closer you get to it, the more enticed you are to buy it. So we'll see what happens when the phone gets announced on October 29th. We'll see how that event goes. Now I'm going to talk about my history with OnePlus, as well as my expectations for the OnePlus 6T event, and my predictions for the company as a whole in the future. So first off, my first phone that I ever bought from OnePlus was the OnePlus 5, and it retailed in June of 2017 for $479. And that phone was amazing. It was a great phone, had great specs, great battery life, and an awesome camera, especially for filming. And that's all I wanted in a phone, so I really liked the OnePlus 5. Then after that, the OnePlus 5T came out, and at that moment I was a bit skeptical as of should I buy it, because at the point I did not know that they released 2 phones every year. So when it came out, I was like, should I even buy this phone? Is it worth my time? But they made some slight design changes. They put that fingerprint sensor from the front at the bottom to the back, and that was one of the changes that prompted me to buy the phone. It just looked nice overall, and it had some slight spec increases. You had the Snapdragon 845, the Adreno 630. You had some slight performance upgrades, and with that, it prompted me to get the phone. I really liked the OnePlus 5T when it released. And then the OnePlus 6 came out, and the OnePlus 6 had everything I was looking for. It had a nice, adequate notch that looked really good. I still like the OnePlus 6's notch. It looks amazing. The camera on the back, they moved it to a double camera setup in the middle. They put that fingerprint sensor in an oval shape instead of a circle, which I really have no problems with. I thought it'd make a big difference. It really didn't. And they kept that form factor. They made the screen a lot larger, almost stretched to the bottom of the display. You get all that screen real estate. And the phone looked amazing from pictures, from videos, everything. So I was like, I have to get this one. The OnePlus 6 was probably the most sure purchase that I made since the OnePlus 5. So I was really, really excited when the OnePlus 6 came out. Am I as excited for the OnePlus 6T as I was for the 6? Not as much. But the OnePlus 6T does seem to be a pretty nice phone. I think that it'll perform well as far as sales. Speaking of sales, the price, I predict that the price should retail at about $549, just due to the past phones. The OnePlus 5 was $479, the OnePlus 5T was $500, and the OnePlus 6 was $529. So if you just keep adding 30 to each phone, you're getting to $559 or $549, however they want to price it. Basically about $550 for the phone. And if they price that as the 128 gig base model, which is another speculation, if they do that and they make the 256 gig option, the secondary one, that phone should cost about $609 or about $600. And my further prediction is that they will put 8 gigs of RAM on both models. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but that's just my prediction. I think they'll put 8 gigs of RAM on both models. If they manage to put 16 gigs or 12 gigs of RAM on that 256 gig version, that would be crazy. I would just be like, wow. I'd probably even buy it just to have it. Like that would be amazing. But I expect that the OnePlus 6T will do well. Will I buy the phone? I'm about 70% on the side of I will buy the phone. I'm not sure yet. I'm just gonna wait till I see this event on Monday. It's gonna be on Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, so please be sure to set it on your alarm. Go to oneplus.com. They have it on a video. You guys can set a reminder. As far as my expectations for the event, in past events they just announce the phone. They show all the specs, they show all the promotional videos and everything. Everybody goes crazy. And then they talk about some other things. We also have another picture of an upcoming accessory, the OnePlus Bullets. The OnePlus Bullets, I think it's V2 or V3. I don't know which version it is. But we do have some rendered pictures also from the same Twitter user as aforementioned Ishan. You guys can see the Bullets. I was never a big fan of the Bullets. I didn't buy either of the Bullets that they released in the past. I didn't buy the wired ones or the wireless ones, so I don't think I'll be buying these. I have my own personal headphone tastes. I like the AirPods. I like the Bose QC35s. I have them right here. These things are amazing. I bought these a while back, but I highly recommend these. I have my own headphone preferences, so I don't think I'll be buying these. But if any of you guys want to support the company or do actually like or are interested in the sound or the quality of the OnePlus Bullets, be sure to buy them. They should retail for about $40. I think they retailed last time for $35, $40. I may be wrong. That's just a guess. But I expect that for the event, I expect them to just release the device to show it off. The expected release date of the phone is November 6th, not on the 29th. It should be a week and a day after the event, which in the past, I don't remember if they've done that. But one thing I do remember though is the colorways. One thing I've been complaining about a lot is the reason as to why they don't release the white colorway on the same day as they release the phone. They usually take about 2 weeks to release the white colorway, and it always makes me mad. But I really hope that they release that white colorway on the OnePlus 6T launch day, because if so, I will be buying the white version, believe me. And my expectations for the company as a whole, I think that the company will do well in the next coming months and years. In the past years, they've definitely grown a reputation to be a great phone creator. But one of the things I think will hinder them is their prices. They've steadily been creeping their prices up since the one released for $300, the OnePlus One, and now you're looking at phones that are expected to release for $550. That's a $250 jump in the past, I think, 2 or 3 years that they've been making phones. So as they keep going up to maybe $800, they're almost at the $600 margin. I think if it does, it will retail at $600 for the larger version. So if you keep going up to $700, $800, that's going to affect that market share. You're going to start running into Apple and Samsung and those companies in that price range, and then you're going to have to compete with them up there. And it's going to be hard because phones like Samsung have lots of other external features like heart rate monitors, and I'm pretty sure they have access to the same chips, but Samsung may have a better partnership with these chip makers like Qualcomm. I think they make their own chips, if I'm not mistaken. Samsung has their own Exynos chip, but Apple, just these companies, they're more established, and if you're going to keep raising your prices, you're going to have to start competing with them. And in the future, I think they may cause them some trouble. But for now, OnePlus seems to be in a good spot. They should be secure in their price range and their device capabilities. Everything should be fine for them right now. But overall, I expect OnePlus to do numbers. I expect them to be fine. My hope, though, in the future for the company, I really hope that people find out what OnePlus is and they start to love OnePlus. All the people that have seen my phone in person, they either think it's an iPhone or they think it looks really cool, or both. A lot of people really think that my phone is an iPhone at first glance, and it really does resemble it. But even with that aside, the OnePlus 6 is just an amazing phone. Great design, great craftsmanship, and the OnePlus 6T should be a near copy as far as design quality goes. I really hope that OnePlus improves in the future. They get that exposure, like I mentioned before, they get that exposure, that fan base that they deserve, because they've been making great phones. And with that, guys, I'm going to end this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tech content. And please be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about the OnePlus 6T. Is this another W for the Chinese company, or is this a lack of innovation? Let me know down below. And that's all, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'm hanging out with the fourth, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.